ask you a question, Venters. Have you ever seen those videos where they'll show a dentist or a doctor and maybe their patient is, has laughing gas in them, right? And they're out of it, and it'll show them poking fun at the patient. I think there was a movie called Horrible Bosses where Jennifer Aniston would actually do sexual things to her patients when they were, out of it. Well, today I watched this video from a YouTuber called Ruined Leon. Here's a picture of Leon. Go to his channel and subscribe. He was doing a reaction video to this woman that was basically a nurse, and she was actually taking videos of herself grinding her camel toe, moose knuckle, private parts, the cookie, right on these male patients' top of their head, literally rubbing her stuff on their forehead and hair. And it was really, really disgusting, and it just looked really criminal. But instead of hiding something like this woman actually posted it to her TikTok account. And I guess she wanted to go viral, which she did. But apparently when you have 1 million+ people watch your video, you're gonna get some people that give it a thumbs up and laugh, right? But you're also gonna get some people that thumbs it down and might even get the authorities involved. And apparently the FBI is investigating it. The woman lost her job, at least that's what I heard. And she actually went back onto TikTok and tried to explain away what she had done by saying that, hey, it might look like I'm dancing on their top of their head, but I was actually using weird camera angles. They used to say that about the Rocky movies, right? It's like, hey, how can 5'7" Sylvester Stallone fight 6'2" Carl Weathers and they look like they're the same height? It was those Rocky angles. Well, apparently she was using the Rocky Balboa angles as her defense, stating that she wasn't really doing these horrible things. One of the things that made it really horrible is the people that she was dancing on top of were disabled. Apparently there was a rumor going around from her comment section that these people were nonverbal. So when she went back to TikTok, she tried explaining that that was just a rumor and that they are totally verbal and totally normal. And she even asked one of them to speak. And when the gentleman spoke, you could just kind of tell he was a disabled gentleman. Like, you could really tell. And I urge you guys to look up the videos themselves and let me know what your thoughts are. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is because it seems to me like there's a lot of people that you should be able to trust when you're under anesthesia, whether it be your doctors, your nurse, your dentist, your whoever. You should be able to trust these people. And it seems like because of TikTok and YouTube, we're hearing more and more stories every year about professionals that are actually betraying their patients' trust. So here's my first question for you, Venters. If this happened to you while you were under anesthesia, or if it happened to one of your family members because maybe they were mentally disabled and didn't really know how to speak up for themselves, what would your reaction be? Would you be irate and want the person to get fired? Would you want the authorities to pipe in and potentially get them in trouble with the law, where maybe they lost their license, maybe they had to do a little jail time? I think whatever your answer is, unless it's absolutely no answer at all, I think that's probably appropriate. This person deserved to lose her job, but I think she also probably deserved to get, some penalties involved. Like, there should be some fines, there should be some jail time, there should be a situation where maybe she has to wait 5 or 10 years before she can apply for a license again. Or I could see if people want to strip her of her nursing license forever. Just seems crazy that she became a nurse. And here's the other crazy thing. This was something she decided to put on camera. I wonder what stuff she did to people without ever putting it on camera. Is it just me, or do some people do such brazen criminal stuff? Does it almost seem like they want to get in trouble? Like, is there some street cred that one gets if they go to jail or prison? Is there some street cred that one gets if they actually get fired from their job and they're able to film it on YouTube or TikTok? Was there a piece of her that said, I'm probably gonna get fired for this, but if I post it on TikTok and it goes viral, there's a chance I can make enough money where my job won't matter? I mean, I don't know what TikTok creators make, but I'd imagine if you have a video that makes millions upon millions of views, I would imagine there's a chance that TikTok might pay you heavily for that. But I don't know the numbers. I do know one thing though. Whatever they pay you, it better be enough to float you for the rest of your life, because to have a nursing career and just throw it down the trash, that seems like quite a shame, doesn't it? I think you guys would be amazed at how many people wave at me. The other days, Sean and Mala, you guys were both kind of asking me, like, how do you get embarrassed to talk to people? I might have got embarrassed that day, and trust me, if I would have started asking people, I'm the type that once you break the ice with one, all of a sudden a cloud of courage kind of surrounds me. I could probably easily do something with people in person. The reason I kind of got away from it is because TikTok came back. I really enjoy recording the TikTok videos and doing commentary about it. I wish I had a little bit more time in the day. Sometimes I wish we had 36 hours in the day, but unfortunately we only have 24. Did Jessie really say she had a moose knuckle and a camel toe? Ah ha ha ha. You know, it's funny, it looks cute if it's something that people were okay with, but when people are disabled and they don't really know how to speak up for themselves, it's very wrong, you know? And also, she could have been very manipulative to these two gentlemen. She could have easily said, you know, like, no, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just doing it for my own personal little video. And sometimes disabled people, a lot of times they're just very kind, sweet people, and they just don't really know how to kind of defend themselves, you know, and speak up for themselves. I think even able-bodied people, when they're really intimidated and stuff, have a hard time speaking up for themselves. That's why I think it would be great if we as humans just kind of learned how to leave people alone and give them their space. Everybody always wants people to give them their own space when they're having issues, right? But a lot of times we don't realize that we intrude upon others, and we need to respect other people's feelings too. Sunshine Cool Water, which is a very neat name, says, what's up with all the nurses and the attention that they crave on social media? I heard nurses sleep around a lot. Did you guys ever hear that? That's neither here nor there. But I agree with you. It seems to me like nurses, dentists, doctors, everybody that has a patient that is like unconscious, it seems like they're all starting to make these videos, and a lot of them do goofy things, like they do dances while their patients are under anesthesia. I don't understand why, like, these people don't have a conscience. Didn't their parents teach them right from wrong? Shouldn't there be like so much embarrassment from her that she never wants to go on TikTok again? I think that's the problem with TikTok and YouTube, is you get so many people that are fans of bad behavior. We've made acting weird and bad behavior and being hateful to one another, we've made it where that's like cool and acceptable. And if we were really a great country, we would actually do the opposite. We would shun those type of people, and we would make it so bad that no one would ever want to do that. So whenever we see these horrible things, there is a little bit of us that each have a little responsibility in it. I mean, even me, I'm sitting there hunting down these videos of goofy stories, and in so doing, probably giving these people access to more money in the process. Damn it, Jessie. Damn it. Guardian Soulblade says, as a disabled person, we know what people do around us. Just because we have a problem doesn't mean we're stupid. You know, you bring up a great point, Guardian. I think that a lot of disabled people know exactly what people are doing. They know it's wrong, but again, They just don't know how to kind of defend themselves and say, this is wrong. And then if there's a disagreement, a lot of times people just think, okay, we're going to go with the able-bodied person's argument over the disabled person, you know? And that's wrong too. I think that we need to listen to people and take their argument into account. But again, some of these people are so darn nice, they just don't really realize in all cases, you know, how bad the treatment is that they're getting. Or even if they do, they're so nice and forgiving, and maybe this person gives them a hug, because in the video, she even gave the guy a hug, you know, so obviously he's thinking, this is a friend of mine. And you know how nice people are. They let their friends walk all over them, so to speak. What would you do, AZ Raccoon, if you woke up from getting a tooth pulled and some woman, your nurse, had a camel toe or moose knuckle right in your face? What would you do, AZ Raccoon? Answer me down in the comments below, and the others respond to his reply. JA6368 says, that is my worst nightmare, that I would be unable to respond and a sick individual is abusing me. That is a nightmare. You know, there's some young guys right now that are watching videos of her thinking, I wish that was me. Oh my God, young guys are so perverted. That's one thing that as you get a little older, those goofy thoughts in your head, they kind of mellow out and go away. This was abuse. This was abuse. Don't forget it. What would you do, AZ Raccoon? So do you guys remember, what was her name? Mary Kay Letourneau. She ended up having sex with like this eighth grade or ninth grade boy. You guys remember that? And she ended up getting pregnant and having his kid. And I remember all the women at that time were like, this lady is sick. She deserves to be in the prison for the rest of her life. I mean, everyone in public wanted to throw the book at Mary Kay Letourneau, who I think passed away over the last handful of years. But all the guys when I was growing up were like, golly, I wish we had a teacher like that. That just goes to show you how screwed we are as a society, right? But that also shows me that things have really changed. Boys used to really think a lot about sex and a lot about girls. And I just don't think today's boys think about that stuff very often, which is kind of weird. Is it normal for the kids to want to hang out and play video games constantly, have nothing to do with the opposite sex? And even though, you know, you still see the occasional person pushing a baby stroller now, it's getting so much rarer and rarer. Are we going to have a situation where in 10 or 15 years, are we going to be shutting down schools left and right because there's no students to go to those schools? That's going to be really crazy, because I think that's going to happen. How did I get to that? I don't know. All I know is guys used to really like girls, and something weird has happened in the country. The young guys just don't seem as interested. But I don't blame them. Some of these girls are just really wild. Intertwined X Eyes says, the fact that she's okay showing this to the public, who knows what goes on in private? That's what is kind of scary. She's doing this to complete strangers on tape, which shows she has very little, if any, shame. I wonder what she's doing to her relatives throughout the years. Was she doing this with younger cousins and younger brothers and sisters when she was growing up? Because if you were this woman's mom or dad, and maybe one of her sisters or brothers used to complain about her that, hey, what she does to us when you're gone is just awful. I mean, wouldn't this be a good way of saying, oh my God, maybe they were being honest. Maybe when she held them under the blanket and farted and made them smell it, maybe that was a true story. Becky, did you really do that? No, Mom. No, I didn't. Crystal Gouge 6546 says, it's refreshing to see so many people calling her out. This is disgusting behavior. Crystal, that was one thing I was kind of proud of What we need to do as a people is we need to start saying, look, we are going to overwhelmingly shun you for this stuff. You need for people to be embarrassed and ashamed, because that's when you can get their guilt to start growing within them, so that in the future they quit making these horrible decisions. You got to remember, when people do this, there's a million people that are watching that want to copycat this stuff. People need to know right from wrong, and if we keep rewarding people for doing wrong in life, God, what does that tell the next generation of kids? Nothing good. So what should the punishment be? Do you think it should be losing your job and maybe getting some sort of probation? Do you think that they should have to take some sort of classes on how to have etiquette or how to treat people better? Do you think this is criminal? If something like this happened to one of your family members, or even to you if you were under anesthesia or something, do you think this is something that warrants a jail time or a jail sentence? BRCQ2HM says switch genders, and that guy's going right to jail for doing that to a female patient. That's double standards. Yeah, I got a good story for you guys. I'm going to take the shortcut today because I want to go to my gym and do some walking there. Here's a really good story that you guys might want to look up. I think it's interesting. It happened here in our own backyard here in Phoenix, Arizona a couple years back. There was a woman who was at Hacienda Healthcare. It's kind of like a nursing facility. She was there long term because she was in a long-term vegetative state. Basically a woman that's in a coma 24/7, right? And her nurse was a guy named Nathan Sutherland. And he ended up getting in a lot of trouble. And you might be thinking, well, whatever he did, there's no way she could tell on him. And you're right, she was in a vegetative state. But what happened to her was something he couldn't hide. He actually got her pregnant. Is that the most disgusting thing ever, or what? And by the way, her family is trying to sue the state for $45 million. I don't know if they settled or what. But either way, when someone's trying to sue you for $45 million, that'll get your attention real quick. It's kind of horrible that whenever you take your family members and you have them in a long-term facility, you really are entrusting those people to take care of your family member, and in some cases, they are getting abused. Could you imagine that? Your daughter is in a long-term facility and all of a sudden she's pregnant? Oh my God, what a nightmare. Here's the crazy thing. Whenever I hear those stories, I don't like to focus on them too much, but I think she ended up having a son from that pregnancy. So I don't know if she lost the baby, but for some reason my memory, I think she had the kid. And so I don't know if maybe her parents are watching the kid, or if he became a ward of the state. I don't even know if the kid's alive. I'm just saying, I think she ended up having the baby. Is that the craziest thing ever, or what? And is that just one of those things that if you were caught doing, is that the most embarrassing thing? How do you explain that to people in the future? And again, I don't even know if he's going to have a future. He probably got 20 or 30 years in jail for that. Some crimes are so atrocious and so gross. There's a piece of me that just says, I don't want to ever see you in this world again. Why should we have to share space in this world with bad people? Just really gross. Oh, by the way, speaking of gross, I know that sometimes I beat up on the Democrats, but President Trump was in a little bit of a briefing where they were asking him questions right there with Mayor Karen Bass in LA. And he was saying, no, we want to make it where these people can immediately clean up their debris from their homes, from the fires. And we want these people to be able to immediately clean that up and start rebuilding. Because I've been hearing from people that it's going to take them 1.5 years to do it your way. And she was trying to say, no, they can do it right now. And he's like, well, I don't know. Every time I ask them, they tell me they cannot get in there until you do A, B, and C. and it's going to take a year and a half. And that's the one thing that really sucks about this big government approach that we have in a lot of these cities here. You know, a situation where you have to jump through hoops, you have to do everything by the letter of the law and the system. And I know you're thinking, well, Jesse, we should want to follow the law. Yeah, but if the law means that you can't rebuild and get back into your home for 2 years, then obviously you need to cut through all that red tape. And it was just one of those things where it's like a lot of times these politicians want to argue, and it's like if we as a people could listen to more of those arguments, I don't think people would vote the way they do anymore. I'm telling you, there's one side of the aisle that makes everything darn near impossible. Could you imagine if your house burnt down in the Palisades out in California, and you're wanting to clean up the house, you've got a crew ready to do it, and you want to erect another house right there and get back to living in your home 6 months later? But if you go through the system they have, the way they have it set up, you got to wait a year and a half. You got to pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, just to get permits. God, all that is garbage. I told you guys when I was growing up, my family was all Democrat, and my family still is, like all of them except for me. Well, all of them that are left, because most of them have passed away. But when you grow up and you're constantly told, you know, hey, one side fights for the rights of the common person and for the poor, and the other side just shits on the common person and shits on the poor, and you're led to believe that Republicans and conservatives are just the most evil people in the world. And then as you grow up, you start to realize, my God, every time there's a debate, every time there's an argument, I'm always finding myself agreeing with the conservative Republican side, and I'm always wondering why the Democrat liberal side sounds so batshit crazy. And it's just like, I can't believe that more and more people aren't, you know, making the switch. It just seems so bizarre. The only thing I can think of is when you're born a Cleveland Browns fan, it doesn't matter how inept the team is, you're just going to go down swinging as a Cleveland Browns fan. And I think that's how Democrats are. No matter how crazy and backwards their leadership is, for some reason, Democrats are just always going to vote Democrat. It just blows me away. How does Karen Bass and Governor Newsom, how do they even have their jobs anymore? And then, like I told you guys, they're going to be collecting taxes on that land over the next couple of years. And it's like the state won't even let them out of the tax situation so they can use their money to fix their home. It's crazy. Democrats are crazy. By the way, my family's all Democrat. I still love my family. I just want them to see reality for what it is. But again, they're Cleveland Brown fans. I love that you guys walk with me every day. I also love that many of you guys disagree with me. That's what this world and especially this country is about. We should be able to walk together, lose weight together, have our stress levels come down. I love when we laugh and chuckle together. That's what really makes my world go round. So I just want you guys to know that even if you disagree with me, don't unsubscribe and never visit with me anymore. Walk with us every day. Maybe someday one of your arguments will melt into my brain and make me go back to the dark side of the force. But until that happens, I'm hoping that I can hypnotize and brainwash you into changing your ways. Remember, we all have to start with that man and woman in the mirror. And if I can get you to change that man or woman in the mirror, maybe California can turn red. I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend. I'm going to go in and I'm going to see if I can teach myself how to do a live stream, and maybe in the future we'll go live. What do you think? I'll see you tomorrow.